think that's one thing that, like, excites me. It's, like, the roulette of, like, ooh, like, am I gonna go here or there? And it just really comes down to thinking positively about it. And I think that's why, like, I'm doing okay, is because I'm not thinking negatively about the experience. So I think it really just comes down to whether your personality, whether you're gonna survive on reserve or not.
Yeah.
It's not really how many trips you're working or what hours you're working. It's if you're thinking good about it or not.
That's real. Like, if you're down for the ride.
Yeah.
For sure. Welcome to another episode of the Layover Podcast. I'm Bree, your host.
And I'm Bridget, the guest.
Bridget is the guest. You're guesting. What's up, Bridget?
Nothing much. Just in the hotel cabinet.
Yeah.
Do this.
Pretty much. Makeshift studio.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to tell the people anything about yourself before we...
I'm obviously a flight attendant, on labor right now. I started in November, so it's been, like, 5-6 months or something, roughly. And I'm very not senior. I'm down at the bottom.
Okay.
I think I have, like, 24 people below me, so I'm down there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because some people don't know the concept of seniority. So when you go to your training class, seniority is based off of age first, and then once you actually get into the field, your seniority becomes based off how long you've been here. So it grows from usually month to month when they have new classes or people just transfer in. So when you're more junior as a flight attendant, you're likely to be on reserve, and that's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
What is reserve, and what has it been like for you?
So reserve basically means that they can call you in over a 14-hour period. So basically either on call for 14 hours around wherever your home base is. And then there's different levels of reserve too. So you can be on short call reserve, which I was talking about, 14 hours around your home base. And they give you 2 hours to get to the airport if you get called in. So you either have to live within 2 hours or commute, get a hotel, which is what I do. I currently sleep on somebody's couch when I do come here.
Life is insane. Like,
Yeah.
I've never commuted, but wow, just to come to commute to be on call. So you don't hear that? Yeah.
Not even a real trip, just to be on call. I've sat in a hotel room, an Airbnb, for 3-4 days just not getting called in. So we drive all that way to not work sometimes, and it's frustrating. And then a lot of our pay, part of our pay is based off of per diem. So if you don't get a trip, you don't get the per diem pay, which is $2 an hour anytime you're away from base, all 24 hours. So that also can kind of suck too, because the more you're away, the more you get paid.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, with a line, you can kind of control that a little bit more, like how much you're going to get paid. So that's short call reserve. And then when you're on reserve, you want to talk about hot reserve?
Yeah, so hot reserve is when you're actually physically in the airport, sitting by wherever your company's gates are, and you're just waiting also to get called in. For us, it's over an 8-hour period. I know it differs between airlines.
Yeah, some airlines don't even do hot reserve anymore.
Some don't, and some do just 4 hours, 6 hours. I definitely think I've heard we do the most.
Okay.
Because 8 hours is a pretty long period of time.
Yeah, it's like a 9 to 5.
Yeah, and they have morning hot reserve and afternoon into the evening hot reserve. So yeah, that's not that bad. I don't mind it because at least either I know I'm done at the end of the day, or for me, because I go in the mornings usually, so mine's usually 5 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yeah, I used to do 1 to 9 or 2 to 10 or whatever.
Yeah, and that one's not so bad because at least in the morning I just sleep until 7, 8, 9, and then I usually will either just do stuff on my computer, talk to family, friends.
Yeah, I didn't mind hot reserve. I was like, I can just work on other stuff. You know? Like,
and some people hate it. It really depends on like who you are as a person. Some people rather just fully sit at home or in the hotel or explore the city, and other people do want to rather be on hot reserve than short call. So it really just depends like who you are and what you like.
Yeah, if I had to rank mine, I would have wanted to be on short call at home, on hot reserve, knowing I was going to go home, or on a trip at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of cool with just not flying on reserve if I could.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm like that. It depends. Like, if one week I don't get called in, the next week I'm like, I want to get called in. I want a trip. So, because sometimes it just feels like useless if you're just sitting there.
100%. Especially if you're commuting.
Yeah. Now, if you live in the city, it's like, oh, that's fine. You can see your family, your friends, you know. But if you're, like, not from the city, don't know anybody, you're just kind of stuck there. So you have to find things to do and whatnot. But, yeah.
So what has reserve been like for you so far these 6 months?
I would say I go through, like, good periods and bad periods of being on it. Some days I'm like, this isn't bad, like, I love this. And then other days I'm like, I hate this, like, this sucks. And usually the days that suck are when you think you're going home. Like, you get called in for a trip, say it's, like, 4 days, and then you're supposed to get home, like, on the 4th day around, like, noon or something. And then you get to like, your last flight, they pull you off for, like, 2 or 3 more flights. That can be kind of annoying because it's like, man, I'm supposed to go home, you know.
Yes.
Just that they can, like, throw you around a lot like that. Also, I would say just sometimes they're not really good at, like, notifying you. Like, on reserve, your schedule changes quite frequently. And I've had times where, like, one day I was in D.C., and they just kept bumping me from, like, flight to flight because my flight would get delayed, or then it would get, like, canceled after the delay, and then they'd bump me to a different flight, and I sat in the DC airport for, like, 9.5 hours just getting bumped, versus my other flight attendant who got to just stay, who had a line that got to just stay in the hotel all day because our original flight was leaving at, like, 8 p.m. that night. But they wanted to get me to do a couple of turns before that flight, which, if some of you don't know, a turn is when you, like, go from Charlotte to Atlanta and then Atlanta back to Charlotte. That's just a turn. So that's what they were trying to get me to do, is a turn or two before that 8 p.m. flight, which never happened. But, so that's something I guess I don't like, is if you do have time, or same thing, like, if we have a 4-hour sit in a hub, they will use you.
Yeah, you're going to get picked up.
Yeah, they'll use you for another turn. And it's like your day can go from 2 flights to 4 flights.
100%.
So you're definitely more worn out on reserve.
It's real. Because I started thinking of reserve as an expectations game. And part of the thing that's so, like, troubling about it is you might even plan, like, oh, I'm going to be home on this day so I can go to a birthday party for my sister or something. And then you get put on a flight and you're not able to make it, and it just comes out of nowhere. Like, that is not a good feeling. Even though you know you signed up for it, it's just like, what the hell?
I definitely wish there was more, like, I guess, protections for people on reserve. I would say just more so for your last day, like your bucket day. So if you only have one more day in your bucket on reserve, I wish they had more things in place to make sure you got home. Because there's been a lot of times where they just try and use me. That I would supposed to be only on 4 days and go into 5 and then 6. Which they do, granted, give you those days back. But it's like, you can't, on reserve, you can't plan anything. You can't plan doctor's appointments, stuff like that. Like, I had a crack in my windshield. I came back from a 4-day trip, had a crack, scheduled to get it fixed the next day, even though I was on call, and I got called in. Even though I had 1 day left in my bucket, they called me, and I had to call and cancel and be like, I need to reschedule, you know, so.
100%. Like, you might think you're recognizing a pattern, like, oh yeah, when I just have 2 days, they usually don't use me, and then you just start planning, and then all of a sudden they're using you on those 2 days you didn't expect to get used. It's kind of it's trippy. Like, and again, we signed up for it, but yeah, it is an experience for sure.
Reserves are what they say, first in, last out. So we get used first, and we get used, and then we're always the last ones out. So we usually work the most out of, I would say, versus somebody that has a line, because usually I feel like line holders, they can work a lot, but when you first get your line for the month, isn't it like 65 hours?
No,
usually?
you can bid for, and we'll probably talk about bidding for schedules later, but you can bid for a schedule up to 90 hours if you want. You can like select for high credit schedules, and you can only drop down to 60. So actually, my reserve period, because of the way, like where I was placed seniority wise, my first 2 months, like I didn't get used, and then I hadn't even sat hot reserve at all. Then I started flying a lot, and then I had another period where I wasn't getting used. It was like the winter season or something, maybe like January, February.
Yeah.
And then I got a line, but the grid was red, so I wasn't able to trade any of my trips. So I was feeling like, now I have a line. I'm working more than I was sitting on call, and they weren't using me.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on, like, everyone's reserve is kind of different.
And that's so true. Like, some people from my class, and what Bree said, it just depends where your seniority is, really how much you work. I had people from my class that were working 85 or more hours a month. Meanwhile, I was still sitting at 40 hours for the entire month. So it really just depends, like, how many days are in your bucket, what they need. Like, there really is no true way of figuring out if you'll get used or not. And then 1 month, I might not work a lot, and my friend is on reserve. But then the next month, it's like, I'm working a lot, and they're not working at all.
It's so hard to predict what's going to be going down.
Yeah, and you can't. You try to, when you first start working, you try to figure it out.
Yeah.
I know I did. And you just can't. It's truly impossible to figure out who they are.
It's like that phrase, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. You need that for reserve. Like, you just don't know. But I think to make some of this concrete, we talked about this a little bit before, but maybe we could do like a day in the life. So you could just pick a day from your schedule, like the last month or so. That kind of paints the picture. So, and I'll do the same for a line.
Okay. So I'll do something in March.
Okay. So then I'll do the same.
Okay. So in March, for me, I worked a total of 62.19 credit hours.
Okay.
So that's 16 hours, or 62 hours, I'm sorry, with the door closed that I'm getting credit paid for, which on reserve for our specific airline, they give you a guaranteed of 75 hours a month. So that's 75 times what our hourly is. For us, it's roughly like 2,000 a month, not counting like taxes or per diem or anything like that. And that's what I mentioned earlier, you want to work, so you do get that extra per diem pay added to your paychecks too.
For sure.
But yeah, so I would say that really isn't a lot for the month of March, considering it has 31 days. I only had 10 days off during the month. So I'll do...
How many days did you get used that month?
I got used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 days.
11 days.
Yeah.
And you were on call 20 something?
Yeah, so 20 I was on call and I got used 11.
Right on. So
really I only, basically, not counting the hot reserve days I was on that month, I only worked 11 days, which isn't a lot. But yeah, so I'll do the month. I'll do from the 17th to the 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 17th, so the night of the 16th, I had off, which was a Sunday, and we have on reserve for our airline, you have to call the night before and check in, which checking in is basically them telling you what is going on. So I was originally on shore call, but then when I called them, they put me on hot reserve, which made sense. I had a 6-day bucket ahead of me, which meant I could work 6 days in a row, which is the max. Yes, 6 on-call days in a row, which the max is 6 anyway. You can't work more than 6 days in a row, but that was already on my schedule. So I had hot reserve on the 17th, and then they put me on hot reserve again the 18th. Both those days I didn't get called in. Also, I don't know if you guys know, but hot reserve, you're like the last choice. So like I said, short call, they give you 2 hours. So if somebody calls out more than 2 hours for their scheduled shift, that's when they call short call. But usually under 2 hours is when they call hot reserve in. So nobody did that. Yay.
Good
good for them. So then the next day, the night before, I got a pairing. So I was originally on short that day, and then around like 10, they put a flight. Short day. Actually, that was not a bad layover. We had 23 hours.
Oh, sure.
Which is very, very rare.
That is
It's
rare.
almost a whole day before our report the next time. So, and my report that morning started at 6:11.
Okay.
So it wasn't a super long work day. And then my report the next day was 11:27. And I had 4 scheduled legs. Our flight actually was canceled like that morning. That's why we had such a late report. There's just really bad weather, so they had us go in later in the day back to Charlotte. And so the rest of the crew, when we got off in Charlotte, went to the hotel to overnight in Charlotte. However, when I landed in Charlotte, I found out that they added a South Bend turn, which was, I was basically just going back to Indiana at that point. So that's one thing on reserve. It's like if you have a line, yay, only one flight and then you're done. Reserve, you don't know that. You land in Charlotte and they add a turn, and it's like, okay, I got to do that before I can go to bed.
That's right, and it can also mean changing crews multiple times. You might get in with a crew, be with them for 2 days, and feel like things are going, and then get pulled off and sent to another crew. So, yeah.
And that's so true. And like that day specifically, really, really bad windy weather. We had a rejected landing twice.
Whoa.
Going to South Bend, we rejected landing, and going to Charlotte, which it should have been. The plane was shaking so bad. Turbulence doesn't bother me. I like roller coasters. It feels like a roller coaster to me. But this day was so bad that I just felt like throwing up. It was also the night previously. So for those of you that don't know, crew scheduling is not supposed to call you when you're doing your rest period, which they did that night at 10 to tell us they would change our report time, because our original report was like 4:15, and so that's the new report time. And then that same night, the fire alarm went off at 3:30 a.m. because we had a gas leak in our hotel. So that was like one day that I was really mad that I was on reserve, because I'm like, they all get to go back and go to sleep because we were all super tired. Meanwhile, I have 4 legs when they have 1.
That's right.
Plus the weather, it just, because rejected landings adds another 10-20 minutes. So that was a really, really long day. I had min rest that day, which for those of you that don't know, min rest is 10 hours. So yeah, and then the next day the report wasn't too bad. It was 8:15. So I was able to get some breakfast, which is also very rare for us morning people. And then I had another 4-leg day, pretty short flights. And then that night we had 14 hours of rest.
Not terrible.
Which is, I feel like, pretty average.
Yeah.
14
I'd
is.
say, yeah.
And then, so that was 6 days, and I mean, it was 4 days of flying, but kind of when I feel like you're on hot the first 2 days, it feels like you almost went to work a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know I was really, really tired, and then I was only off 1 more day before I started another 6-day stretch.
Does that mean that you go to the house where you're sleeping on the couch because you only have 1 day off, or do you get to go home?
So in that one I did go and just sleep on my friend's couch.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't make sense. I got back to Dayton 5:30, which you mean we land at 5:30. Means I
you gotta
really
get off the plane and let everybody there.
Which means I really didn't get back to my friend's place at like 6:30. If I drove back to Pittsburgh, I would have gotten there like 10:30, 11. So, and then I would have basically had to turn around the same day. So,
yikes.
And I usually either, like, I know my first month on reserve, I didn't know anybody. So the first month, to figure it all out, I got an Airbnb. And then after that, made friends, figured out crash pads, stuff like that. So I started doing, and I only go home when I have 2 or 3 days off. So the other majority of the time, I just sleep in a hotel on my friend's couch. So this was one of those times. And I spent my entire day off doing laundry, going to the grocery store, meal prepping, all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't even really a day off before starting all over
because you're
again.
really just going to start preparing for the next trip.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we did.
100%. Yeah. Okay. Because I think it's like it's like kind of corny, but when people say flying is a lifestyle, I think that's kind of the sort of thing they mean. It's like even when you go home and you're off, you kind of have to still be in the mind of flying, like in a rhythm, so that you're ready the next time you fly.
You have to think about, like, what do I need to restock, you know, like, if, like, and then, like, I think for you guys, I think you were going to talk about your schedule, but clothes, like, you know you're going to end up somewhere warm versus me, I can end up in Canada or I can end up in Florida, and then some days I'm supposed to end up in Florida, and I end up in New Hampshire, you know? So for us, I feel like a lot of reserve people pack a lot more. And I know I pack a lot more just because I also commute too. So I have to basically pack
That's a good point.
You know, I have to pack extra food,
it's so
extra
uncertain.
clothes.
Yeah. And you're away from home, so that's a different kind of ball game. Okay, so I did my reserve, but now I have a line. So I had vacation in March.
Oh, nice.
So my birthday was in March too.
Oh, happy late birthday.
Thank you. I had vacation until March 8th. And then I had a trip, but I traded it for a trip later in the month, so I ended up having the 9th through the 14th off as well. So that gave me time to get back from my vacation, do laundry, meal prep, etc. And I started a trip that Saturday. Let's see. It was a 4-day trip, so 3 nights staying at a hotel, and then the 4th day we came back home. Okay. Then I had 2 days off, and then 2 days is okay. I like 3. 3 makes me feel like I'm rested, I'm chilling. Like I did work for those first maybe 1.5. Maybe I went to a doctor's appointment or something, and then I actually got to chill. So after that. Yeah, I found my place in 3. 4 is like luxurious. That's like, am I gonna make enough money this month?
Yeah, exactly.
But then the next day, so I had 2 days off, and then after that I had a 3-day trip. So I started the 3-day. That's 2 nights overnight in a hotel, and then came back. So I knew every place I was going. If my flights got canceled, we still got paid for them. I knew what to pack, like you said. Like I haven't even thought about that since not being on reserve. But I knew what hotels I was going to if they had breakfast. So when I meal prepped, I didn't have to worry about meal prepping for breakfast or whatever. I knew the restaurants around where I was going. So that's my schedule. Sounds way less too much reserve.
Yeah, and like that, I think that's just one of like the better benefits of having a line is that you know where you're going and you get that guaranteed pay. Because I know for us, I think when you get a tentative trip, it shows you like it's 18 credit hours or something, and I don't think it changes because when they
probably not unless you're over guaranteed.
Yeah. So, and I don't pick up. I know some people that move their schedule around on reserve to work 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on, 1 day off. Because we only get 10 days off. Us reserve do. They do that so that they can pick up extra trips when they have like 5-6 days off in a row. Yeah. To make that extra money. Wow. I don't do that because that's a lot. I hate working 6 days in a row.
I do not like it either.
It's really tiring.
And I couldn't imagine as a commuter. You will never go home.
That's another reason why I don't do it is because I'd never go home. And that's one reason why some people do it just so that they can travel and use their travel benefits. Yeah, that's when I've done it. Yeah, and I appreciated being able to use the benefits, but then I come back to work and I'm like, I should not have done this. No. And I did that one time. Well, I went home to see my family, and I did the 6 off. 6 on, 1 off, 6 on, 1 off. So I had 6 days to go home and see my family because I hadn't seen them in a couple months. Yeah, and I obviously loved seeing my family, but I had 0 rest and recovery between 6 on, 1 off, 6 on. And I think that's the reason I got sick, because, you know, if you don't rest, you get sick. You gotta watch out for that, yeah. But, yeah, so it just depends who you are. I think it really comes down to if you can handle that or not, if you commute or not, you know, like what kind of person you are. Yeah. And that's why I think reserve is different for everybody, too. Some people love it. Some people absolutely have no problem with reserve. Yeah. And other people do. Yeah. And it just...
some of it's personality, some of it's life situation, like you said. Yeah. But for you, like, you are commuting, so that already makes your reserve period a little bit more work than if you weren't. That's just probably gonna be the case for anyone. If you're commuting, there's a little bit more to it. Yeah. How are you surviving? Like, what's helping you keep going? What are you looking forward to?
Honestly, for me, it's going home, sleeping in my own bed, being able to do my laundry for free, not a laundry mat, seeing family and friends. Like, going home gives me something to look forward to. If I know I'm not going home, I'm just kind of, not like bummed out that whole week, but I am. I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't have anything to do, anything fun to do this weekend. So definitely going home. But I also, one thing that gets me really excited about reserve is when I see people that I work with, that I have worked with, and I work with them again. Yeah, and that's really fun. What? You know, where have you been? You know, kind of a thing. And at least for working on reserve, it's kind of a nice surprise.
That's real. Like, have you worked with anyone from your class yet?
Yeah, I've worked with a couple people from my class, and it was nice. And I worked with somebody from my class actually the day after the crash, which was really nice because it's like I know somebody, you know, it's not that it was going to be like weird and awkward, but it's like it felt more comforting when you know somebody. So, but then getting people as a surprise is fun too, because that's how you meet people, make friends, and that's how, like, when you do have a line, I don't know if you've talked about this, but like buddy bidding.
Yeah, I haven't talked about that, but yeah.
Yeah, you can. So buddy bidding is when you basically bid with a friend for the same schedule, so you work the same flights, stuff like that. Yeah. And that's nice because that's a good time because you know who you're working with.
Like, I'm not even working, I'm having fun.
No, exactly. And I think in this field, like working with somebody that you can have fun with it makes the trip, the makes or breaks the trip.
Because you're away from home, like you kind of want to feel somewhat at home.
Yeah. So yeah. And I know for us too, like my family and friends, they all work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and sometimes you can't talk to them because of that. Like sometimes I'm working into the night and they're asleep, or sometimes it's the other way around where
you're getting up like
I'm getting up at 3 a.m. and they're fast asleep, you know. Yeah. So having people definitely makes it the trip for sure, and I think that's one major benefit of having a line is being able to buddy bid so you can enjoy your trips, have fun, and work with people, you know.
100%. So yeah. Okay, just maybe one last question, maybe two. On reserve, I it's like a game of like just lasting it out. Like you know, most flight attendants are staying to get the seniority, and eventually we'll get a line, and then they'll see the job a different way. What is how are you persevering? Like, what is it about your character that because some people quit. Yeah, you're 6 months in. Some people quit 2 months in.
Yeah,
some people quit their second trip.
From my class that have already quit too.
Same with mine. Yeah.
So, I guess it's not really just like getting to a line for me, because I think for me getting a line might take 1.5 years, 2 years personally, just based on my seniority, how many people are in front of me. So for me, it's not like, oh, I'm going to get a line, because when I think about it too hard, it's like, oh, 2 years? Like, are you kidding me? Of this? Yeah, for sure. Time flies anyway.
Sure does.
But I think for me, it's just, I don't want to say I don't care, but I just have kind of like I'm down either way personality. Like, it is what it is, you know? And I think if you think poorly and negatively about your experience on reserve, it will be poor and negative. But if you're just kind of like going with the flow, going out with crews when you can, you know, and then like you don't always have to go out with your crew too. You can either choose to stay in if that's personally what you need, and I will never judge anybody for staying in.
Seriously, watch a movie, drink your hot chocolate, like whatever you have to do to feel.
You definitely need rest days in your hotel, because sometimes you might not get those on your days off. So, but then do take the opportunities to go out with your crew too when you do feel like it. You know, definitely get out there, explore the cities. I think that's one thing that like excites me. It's like the roulette of like, ooh, like am I gonna go here or there? And it just really comes down to thinking positively about it. And I think that's why like I'm doing okay, is because I'm not thinking negatively about the experience. So I think it really just comes down to whether your personality, whether you're gonna survive on reserve or not. It's not really how many trips you're working or what hours you're working. It's if you're thinking good about it or not.
That's real. Like if you're down for the ride.
Yeah.
For sure. I remember it took me a year and a half to get a line.
Right.
So I was doing reserve, but I remember getting a trip to Fort Walton. No, I keep saying Fort Walton because that throws me off.
No, it does
Fort
too.
Wayne.
Fort Wayne, yeah.
But we got there and it was like a festival of water or something like that. So I was like, I'm going to that festival. So I went out there and they have like chalk artists and stuff and all this food and everything. Nice. I like festivals. So for me, I'm like, wow, I like Fort Wayne. Like I have fond memories of that place where everybody's like, oh, who wants to go there? I'm like, I do. Is the festival going on? You know.
And you're really good about that. Finding like little, like you did that trail 2 days ago or something.
Oh, the Vulcan. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like it's really hard in the winter, and I think that's when a lot of people, if you come into reserve during the winter, which I did, I came during the holidays, so it didn't feel like holidays, it felt like work, and I came when none of my crews wanted to go out, which frankly I didn't either. I don't want to walk when it's
cold,
0 degrees outside. You know,
in Vermont, like what?
And but it's just that's why I'm saying like when you can get out, do get out, and it doesn't have to be to some fancy place. You don't have to like Uber 30 minutes somewhere. Just like finding local things, and there's like FC View that helps list a ton of things nearby that you can do.
That's right.
And then once you start making other flight attendant friends, you tell them, hey, I'm going to Fort Wayne, and then they tell you, and now I'm going to be looking out for this festival because I want to go to this festival.
Yeah, it was around this time of year. Yeah, maybe May.
Yeah.
And I was flying with someone from my class the first time.
Oh, wow.
So that was cool. But, okay, well, do you have any last words of advice for the upcoming reserves? By the time they get there, you might have a line.
Well, maybe. But I would just say you have to think positive about it. I think like try and find something good in reserve. Like one of my best friends told me like 2 years ago, I was going through a really rough patch, like and she was like, just find one good thing a day, one good thing. And she was like, it could be something as small as like your Starbucks order was made perfectly, like so, or like, man, like I got to talk to this person, I haven't talked to this person in a while, or like just like very little things that make or break. Like I had a good hair day, or like whatever it
that's
is.
Important.
Yeah, like like it could be anything. Like I didn't trip today. Like that was a good thing. So I would just say like find like just good little things. Because when you do look at the bad things all day, like man, they added 2 more legs. Yeah, it sucks when everybody else gets to go to the hotel and go out to dinner. You feel like you're left behind. But then those 2 legs, it's like, man, Captain buying me a coffee. Like that's super sweet or whatever. Or like, these people are funny. Like it's a good 2 legs or whatever it is. Like just try and find something positive about the day. So, or like a good passenger. It could be anything, and you just can't get upset. You have to go with the flow with everything,
because there's going to be flow. Like things are flowing and they're out of your control.
Yes, they are. And I think even some people who do have a line during the month of the crash, they got pulled too.
Yeah.
And so, not that it's a guarantee once you're off reserve that's going to be smooth sailing.
100%, because as a line, you still get flights canceled. On this trip, we had delays. Like, you still kind of don't, that's the nature of the industry. You don't really know what's going on. You're not in control. You control what you can, and that's pretty much,
Yeah, and that's why controlling your own personal feelings about everything, I think, is super important when it comes to reserve. And maybe just finding like things to do, not every day, but once or twice a week, just for you, whether it is just going out to a festival or having some fun. Even if nobody else wants to go, you just go. It doesn't matter what everybody else wants to do sometimes. Or treating yourself like, we don't make a lot of reserve, but treating yourself to a coffee like once a week. Like, you know what, I know $7 coffee is outrageous, but
the schedule's outrageous.
Yeah, exactly. And that's usually what I do, is if like a lot of stuff is changing or going wrong, I'm like, I need a coffee break. I'm gonna get myself a cookie, whatever it is. Just like doing little things to help yourself throughout.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, I think you're gonna do just fine.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, I'd love to.
Wow,
this was fun.
This was fun. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode. If you like this, subscribe so you can get more of it. Also, leave a comment about what's going to help you get through your reserve period. And remember, sometimes great destinations require a layover.